you for being there. Now, today promises to be a very, very interesting one because not every day you get to have two PhD holders on set as guests. Now, I've been joined by Dr. Shirley West, a boy who's a business analyst and also an economist. Thank you for coming on the show, Dr. Shirley West.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for coming. And I also have Dr. Saze Iyuba, who's an economist.
Welcome. It's a delight to be here. Thank you.
I'm delighted as well to have both of you on the set today. Okay, now we're looking at financial inclusion. Now, every time we talk about financial inclusion, we always find that not everyone in Nigeria, because the concentration is going to be on Nigeria, is captured within the formal financial sector. But Dr. Shirley West, does that mean that not everybody gets to handle money or have need to have money kept safely somewhere?
Well, the concept of financial inclusion, like you have just given a prelude or an intro, is targeting the unbanked populace or the underbanked populace by extension. You might ask, what are the underbanked? It is when what you have is sufficient for your day-to-day activity, then you now begin to think of other means of deferring your satisfaction tomorrow, which economists always call opportunity forgone or forgone satisfaction. And like the report of 2014 by Central Bank that gave the financially excluded Nigerian to be 59.9%, and out of which it said it's about 43% are between the ages of 18 and 25, which portends great danger. And the women are also not left out. They went out to say the statistics also skew against the women. Then sometimes some of us will not ask, what will make somebody to be financially excluded? And that concept permit me to even narrow it down to specifics. When you don't have access to bank facility, you don't have access to bank loan, you don't have access to insurance services, you don't have access to things that will give you what you would have wished to have with the intent and purpose that tomorrow you can make it up. It is financially you are excluded. And from the statistics, from the studies that have been carried out, if you check the countries today that are highly ranked in the financial inclusion network, majority of them are from the core Europe. The Danish, the Norway. I think the first African on the first 10, rather the first 20 is Mauritius, followed by Kenya. The first American is Canadian. It might shock you to know that United States of America is ranked 28. Wow. And Japan is the first Asia, followed by Singapore. And if you look at these countries by their Human Development Index, by their crime rates, by corruption perception index, you will agree with me that these nations are low ranked in these indexes of negative, like the corruption. But Human Development Index, they are high. I think several times we have pontificated on it that, yes, if we actually want to stem this hydra-headed evil we call corruption, bribery, whatever, we don't need to police the persons on the street. Look at the financial system. Okay. Once the financial system is well tamed and taken care of, I tell you, it's not news that even from the same report of that 2014, the central bank came out and said the Northwest are the highly financially excluded, with 73% excluded, followed by Northeast, 85%. Then North Central, the statistics are there. In order of hierarchy, they also came out with the story that the Northeast are attributing about 61% unbanked or financially excluded. The South-South, where we belong, is 58%. and the Southwest, so to speak, which is the best, is ranked with 56%. And now the question some of us always ask is, these things are not rocket sciences. When you have a gap between the have and the have not, just little high, it creates room for some people to be deliberately be excluded from the system and by the system. And when you also have a situation wherein there are people who the laws are not made for, it creates also an opportunity for the system to be abused in no little way, grossly. Then the issue of the salary pay, the wage pay disparity, all these things put together, these are little forces that have made financial exclusion, so to say, to gain ground in Africa, okay, particularly in Nigeria, where is my home.
Okay. Now, Dr. Saze, is it just an issue of not having enough to bank, or looking at the statistics presented by Dr. Shani West, it also has to do with cultural factors and maybe even religion?
No, I don't think it has to do so much with cultural factor or religion. It might to a very, very little extent, but I think the most important problem has been the fact that what financial inclusion, as my colleague just defined it, I want to see financial inclusion with two legs.
Okay.
That's when financial services are not available to a certain group of people at an affordable cost. So that means two legs: availability and affordability.
Okay.
So Nigeria is still even grappling with the target of making it available before you're even talking of affordability. So that's why there was this FEMEN research that was done. I said about 64% of Nigerians are included, have financial inclusion. You know, and CBN had a target of 80% as at 2020.
Okay.
So 64% is below the target. And of the 64%, just 45% it's provided by the formal banking. And when you look at the statistics, they showed that the increase, even because in 2018 or 2015 it was just about 40-something%. The increase was just mainly due to the this research, what you all call bank agents, this POS services.
Okay.
And you know, the POS service is not even cheap itself. You know, they will tell you withdraw 10,000 at the 200 naira cost. So it's expensive. So availability is a problem. You have 64%, very, very low, at a very high cost. So it's a problem. It's not cultural. Answering your question, it's not really cultural or religious factors. It's more of availability. It has not been made available to them, because the largest population, another research by them has said that 80% of adults are financially excluded, and of the 80%, 70% are rural dwellers. So our village, those in the rural sector, they don't have anything like banking. There's nothing close to banking there, because you don't have banks situated there. The networks are terrible, just very close to us here. We are not going very far, 9-4 here. When you get to 9-4, I have somewhere there. You walk inside the junction, all the networks are not functional. So you are not even talking of voice network, talking of data network. So I want to look at financial inclusion, the challenges, not religious or cultural, but in three aspects. The cost.
Okay.
The cost of which are analyzed, which is very expensive, quite expensive, 200 for 1,000, and that's when there is even no rush. By the time somebody is sitting by an ATM machine and a POS sees that the ATM machine has crashed, she immediately increases around to 10,000 to 1,000. So it's costly. Then I want to look at the issue of financial inclusion too, from the availability, access to it. It's not accessible. How many of those in the rural dwellers have access to mobile banking? In fact, in the towns, there's no mobile banking. So then I want to look at awareness too. The awareness is very low.
Okay.
Another survey showed that 80%
awareness that people should bank
about mobile banking generally.
Okay.
The awareness is low. There was a report that said that about 70% of adults did not have proper awareness about mobile banking. So it goes beyond just the fact that you can do transfer. The fact that I don't have adequate, there are people who are reluctant to download or have these mobile apps in their phone, because there's the feeling that, okay, there's a banker somewhere who will be managing, who will be spying on your accounts for you. When your phone is stolen, they can do some transaction. So it all boils down to awareness. To create the awareness that, no, it's safe, it's fast, It's something you can use. It's a welcome development. So those three aspects, cost, availability, and awareness, is a problem. You know, in countries, our neighboring country like Ghana, there's mobile banking where you don't have any business with the banks at all. You just use your phone number, open an account with the mobile network, either without calling their names, any of them, and you want to pay money, you go to a mobile vendor who sits like someone who sells recharge card, and you pay, you bank your money with the person, they check your account details, and when it's going, they take it. But with this POS, it's just a payment. Our POS system, there's a payment, it's a platform. It doesn't give you the ability to pay in. You can't lend. So it's even not an aspect, only an aspect of availability. It's inadequate banking.
Okay.
So as I said, in neighboring countries, you open, then they check. Then when they see your account is credit worthy, they give you the money that you're asking for. But that also boils down to networking.
Okay, because you need to access the account.
You need to access it. It just goes beyond voice, the data network. And you don't have it in our rural areas, as many as I know.
Okay.
And also beyond that, the NCC, the regulators, have not done enough too. We called last time the USSD feud between banks and telecoms.
Telecom.
Exactly, where the telecoms accuse the banks of overcharging their customers, and the banks are not emitting enough, and the banks accuse the telecoms of owing them. So regulators have the problem. Government's provision of network to aid the telecom sectors. There was an agreement that NCC should work with the telecom sectors to give incentives to go to rural areas. But the incentive, there has not been any talk about it. Power is also a problem. You want to go to the rural areas, how do you power your POS machine? How do you power? So it's a problem for government, the regulators, especially with government. So it's not really a cultural or something. The people, the excluded, financial excluded, who have been starved of financial inclusion.
Okay, now let's take it one after the other. You mentioned mobile banking. I know that sometimes every area have their own peculiarity. Now, going way back, we used to have community banks that perhaps have been replaced now by microfinance banks. So what's wrong with us having community banks at the rural areas, so that where you don't have that kind of technology enabled because of some infrastructure that are not available, we could have community banks that captures those in the rural area within the banking system?
Well, none of these policies are meant to stand alone. They are supposed to be what we call policy mix and policy integration. From the community bank we had before, where some of us opined that they came from the People's Bank, like the People's Bank, whatever.
Okay.
And now microfinance bank. It's just a change of nomenclature, wherein the reason for giving birth to them hasn't changed. Now, I have a village. I'll tell you a story one day. After a church service, I said, let me go and see my mother in the village. And within the church service, the little money I had on me, I had some needy persons. The kind of life we live, take, with the mind that there's little in the bank. Lo and behold, when I got to the bank, they said for the past 5 days, the bank had no network throughout the federation. That's how I ended up going on that journey without a kobo in my pocket. Now we'll talk about the microfinance bank of Athena. How many of the microfinance, as at 2016, 894 microfinance banks were licensed by CBN.
Okay.
83 have full information about their activities. Now, when the regulators are not doing what it's supposed to do, I'm quoting from CBN statistical work.
Okay.
When the regulators seem not to be working in line with their reason for giving birth to this, the regulated ones will have opportunity of doing what they feel is nice. Today, you also see a situation where some transfers cannot be tracked. They tell you it is, you remember what happened in this NSAS, what led to this NSAS, where some agency of government or some individuals who are super individual were not going with POS on the street. I asked myself, in a civilized society, to be financially included, you must be able to track all transactions. Now, if these things are done through POS that are supposed to be having digitalized reference lines and numbers, and somebody will use it to transact the business and will not be able to get those things. These are some of the things that distort the financial inclusivity.
Trust.
Trust.
System.
Then you also know there are some there are pockets of cases where we have banks in the rural area being taken over by hoodlums, and for some months, running 2 years, the branches have been closed down. And like I said, none of these agency or institutions should work alone. How is our insurance companies? Are they working up to meet or to what we call just to bring back, re-indemnify or indemnify the lost to the point they are? Are they working?
Because funds in the banks are usually insured.
Yes, and then that, you see, a lot of things are actually not working well in this nation that I call mine. I am proud to be in Nigeria, but at times, because we don't have any other alternative, that's why some of us say, well, whatever being the case, we'll choose to be in Nigeria and remain until God will pick some of us to correct those evil that is in our lives.
Okay, now correcting the situation now of still having a high percentage of financial exclusion in Nigeria, what's the way to go, Dr. Sazen?
Yeah, I think it's simple. Having identified the fact that the problems are government, regulators, and the financial service providers.
Okay.
It's simple. On the government part, there should be adequate incentives for the financial sector services providers to go to the rural area, because that's the area, those are the areas, the rural dwellers, they are the most exclusive. So incentives for the banks to go there. The regulators, NCC, should partner with the telcos to be able to take their networks to the rural areas. There should be incentives to go there. And on the part of the financial service provider, there should be some innovations in their packages, their online services, their awareness to the public, and so on. So it's three legs. They are all stakeholders in the value chain. So each of them, government, regulators, and the financial service providers, should up their game. And it's very important to state that there is without any econometric research or any evidence provided, there is a significant direct and positive relationship between financial inclusion and growth.
Okay.
Measuring it with economic activity, because financial service has to do with economic activity. So if someone in the village, for example, Igwabazo, has to be paid for a job, he has to come to Benin to come and collect money from you. Maybe you need him to clear your farm or to carry out an agricultural. He has to come to Benin, collect the money from you, go back. So it's affecting economic activities, and they themselves cannot also get funds. That's the most important, one of the most important factors of the banks. Access to loans, soft loans, credit, they can't get it. So they are very, very excluded. So it's affecting economic activity, so that most of the economic activity is just happening in the urban area. So by the time you're able to reach them in their rural area, then obviously the economic net is widened. So it would help to increase or to activate, to increase growth. So that's my take. But the solution lies with government, the regulators, and the financial service provider.
Okay, finally, banks like to expand. At least that's what we see in the urban area. Even when you're going on your own way, you have some marketers stop you to ask, do you have an account with this bank, that bank, or how you can even have zero balance in your account. Is there a way that the spread of banks to rural areas can be incentivized so that the banks know there's something, there's a catch going to the rural areas to provide banking services?
My brother here has said it substantially, and even before going to your question, let me take a bite from where he stopped. The government that came out not too long with what they call stamp duties, that for every deposit into your account, some cases 50 naira. I did an audit work for a client last month, and it's a school wherein they were paying 1,000 for PTA and so many other things put together. We came out with a stamp duty and other bank charges of something very substantial and reasonable. But the people that,
the school.
Yes, the school. And the people that didn't understand those, say, why that figure? We now brought out the volume of work. Say, every 100 naira or 2,000 naira or 5,000 naira you transfer, there's a deduction of stamp duties. These things are disincentive to financial inclusion. If you say you want to incentivize the banks that they should go to the rural area by going to your question straight, How do you incentivize when there is no power? How do you incentivize when there is no security? How do you incentivize when there is no relationship between the organs of the state and the traditional council led by the chiefs there? And I'm aware these people are, sometimes they have some benefits on that just from the government because of their offices. Sometimes we did a work, we ask, what is the economic relevance of these traditional rulers?
No, let's not digress.
Yes, we are saying it on a holistic way. It cannot stand, it's not a standalone policy. We must have a way of networking together to be able to assess this thing and push it down to the villages. The village, like the report I quoted of 2014, said about, it's here, look at it, said 28% of the 59 million excluded are farmers.
Okay.
And it said 59.2% are females.
Okay.
And it said 33.7% are non-formal educated vessels.
So the best way would be to maybe come up with innovations that will attend to the needs of those people, even if you won't have.
It's not only innovation, there must be a concerted effort by the three agencies, like my brother had just itemized. Okay. The service provider, the regulator, and even the people have little or nothing to play. They are just at the receiving end. Okay. Even myself, you ask me if I prefer to take my salary by cash, I will tell you I prefer to take it by cash because of the some unhealthy activities of most of these banks.
Okay. We're out of time on this discussion. We do hope that government and stakeholders will work together and maybe look at some issues like charges and security provided in rural areas so that banks can actually have all they need to capture those in the rural areas, and those even in the urban centers can be encouraged more to continue banking. We'll take a break. On the return, we'll look at the oil sector. All right, thank you for being there. Now we're still talking business, but this time around we'll take a look at the oil sector. Now, recently there was a revocation of oil field licenses in Bayelsa State. I still have my guests here, Dr. Shani West Eboigwe, and of course, Dr. Saze Iyua in the studio. So, looking at the revocation of oil field license in Bayelsa State and given to other companies, there were revelations that some of the indigenous companies were actually given a license in 2003, and then it was revalidated in 2013. But up to 2018, there had been no exploration done. Why would a business bid, I suppose, for oil field license and after so many years not commence exploration? Let me start with Saze.
Yeah, the report showed that, as you said, 2003, the Bayelsa government was given the OML 46 license to explore. But in April 2019, it had been long running. April 2019, the DPR revoked about 13 licenses, and the Bayelsa, this particular one in question was one of them. And the accusation was that 2003 they were given, 2013 it was renewed, and as of 2018, no significant production activity has taken place. But the state government has come to counter that position of the federal government by saying that that it's not true, that before the last administration left, they had already got to the point of test production on the site. Okay. And that there was already 1,000 barrels of crude oil awaiting evacuation. Just that they couldn't evacuate because they had not gotten a commercial license from the DPR, because what they have is an OML to explore. So you need license to evacuate. They had not gotten it. That's the position of the Bayelsa state government. And they were hopeful that they will be able to get a renewal when it's reallocated. But so I see it without going into political wranglings, manipulations, but I think it's a political issue between the party that the state government belongs to and the party at the federal level, especially the Minister of State for Petroleum, who is from that state, and we know his the issues he has had with the parent government. So I think it's just but what confuses me a bit is the fact that the new company they gave Halkini, it said that the Bayelsa state government last year gave 41% of its 51% ownership in the on the site to this Halkini. So, and it's the same Halkini that the contract or the oil field has now been given to. So, it's just analyzing what I see on paper. That's what I can say. But I don't know. As I said, it has some political. There are some manipulations, some political interest in it. But how it will affect the region, I don't know. If the Halkini, the new company that has been given to, it's in the body language between them and the state is fine, then I expect cordiality in the area of production. But if there's bad blood between them, then I don't know how production activity, how harmonious it will be, and last it will also affect production efficiency, because the whole essence of taking it from is that production has not been efficient. So when you give it to someone that there's bad blood, of course you have community wranglings sponsored by each of the parties, which will also be a cause.
What's your take, Dr. Charlie West?
Dr. Osaze has just said, you know, based on our kind of callings, we don't like to dabble into politics. There are some questions that should help Nigerians out. Before those 18 or 13 licenses were given, were their competencies and expertise tested? If yes, to what extent? You understand today, there was a minister of power, Professor Bat Nanji, still in the public domain. He told Nigeria, I am a power expert. You give me this Enugu, whatever, give me this other side, I will transform it because I have been tested and I have results. Some of us said because of full disclosure, conflicting interest, he should resign. Which the young man did, he never got it. Can you tell me today that the power system in Nigeria is better? The same thing with the oil sector. When I look at this, the countries in the world that are exporters or members of this OPEC that have this thing, I try to see how they manage their crude block.
Okay.
Most of these blocks are nationalized. In our constitution, as an accountant, the head 1 to head 6 of the income, whatever, it is meant for the federation account. Therein you have the mineral rights. Now, the mineral right of a thing, I now ask myself, do the state have the potency or the capacity to do this? If they don't have, what other authority do we have to muster this courage? Like he just said, I went through the records available on paper because I am not a politician. I wouldn't know what happened behind the scene. The governor Duri said he is going to contest and contend this case and test it in the court. I'm aware when Obasanjo came, he granted 18 licenses for refinery. Everybody felt, oh, there was hope. How many of those refineries has taken off? The challenge we have in this nation is we are afraid of speaking the truth. But not until we go to the truth and unearth it, we will not get to where we think we should go to. Let us stop playing game with the life of people. Like he just said, I am not going to be surprised to see violence of unimaginable proportion in that zone. As a result of this revocation. And I'm also not surprised to see that the new company that is taking over is from the bloc that believe that the governance of this nation and the resources of this nation is for them.
Okay, now let's look at the implication of stored production, because if a license was issued in 2003 and up till 2018, there had been no production going on there, and there's still a tussle around it. It means that production has not been ongoing oil as it should in that particular area. So what's the implication in the oil sector? We want to produce more. Nigeria wants to produce more oil, so it has more to sell, especially now that the demand for oil is rising. So what do we do?
Yeah, the stall in production definitely would affect productivity generally, but I think that there is more that meets the eye. You know, there are so many things that happen behind the scene that you really don't understand. Like the PIB bill that just came out. You see that there's a report that from 2007 to 2021, between 2002 to 2007, 5 years, we had an increase in oil reserves from 22 to about 37 million barrels that within the 5 years. But within 2007 to 2021, just only 500 million had been discovered. So it shows that there's something wrong with investment. So there must be some other factors which we are not able to place now that hampered the investment, adequate investment on that site during this period. And in any case, the Minister of State who is laying this accusation now was once a governor in the state within this period also. Okay. I think, yeah, he was a governor in the state. So, so who is indicting who? So that's why I feel that there's something behind the scene that we probably don't know about. So without, they will be able to, as he said, the governor says he's going to contest it in court. So let's see how it plays out.
Let's see how the drama unfolds. Yeah. Now, going to the PIB that was passed by the Senate on Thursday after so many years, though it's waiting for the presidential assent to it. So something happened when the Senate approved. They reduced the approval for host community trust fund from 5% to 3%. Why do you think that was done, Dr. Satan?
When the earlier version of the PIB that we had created 10% for locals, they call it just to motivate and dampen the restiveness, as it were. I am not surprised. A month ago, the governor of Kano State specifically said that 5% or 8% that is proposed is an abnormal. He said 3%. And so when the thing eventually came out to that 3%, I knew where these things were going to. My worry as a Nigerian is, at what point should we face the right thing in life? This issue has been on, wrangling, mutual distrust, since I was born. I am aged as I speak with you, yet no hope in sight. I am not surprised. I was rather not surprised to see it, and I am also not going to be surprised seeing the president of this nation with the speed is going to assent to that bill. Well,
let's not preempt what the president would do.
Yes, not preempting, because I am a Nigerian. The worry I also have is, can we ever work and allow interest and politics not to be on the front burner of everything? If we want to remove it completely, let's remove it. Honestly, I am not in support of taking like this or not taking like that. But if we want to follow the precedent that we felt we have seen before now, how was it done when a section of this nation was driving the central government? If we had a template, now that there is already a paradigm shift by way of resource allocation or by way of resource development, can we not adopt next to that or that same principle for equity and fairness?
Okay. Now, looking at equity and fairness, 3% for host community trust fund, is it enough?
Yeah, without having to go back to all the components of the PIB bill because of time, the PIB bill was expected to be sort of a redemption for the oil sector.
Okay.
But from what we see so far, it seems like it has just scratched the surface. It has just, there are still a lot of hidden interest in the bill. You know, I'm very emotional about this issue, especially about the host community. I just wish I'm able to keep it a little bit cordial cordial, because when I watched the proceedings on the floor yesterday, the committee that was mandated to go through the bill had said 5%. Then the Senate President and the Minister of State for Petroleum and the GMD went into a closed door. And when they came out, then the senator representing Katsina, one Ahmed Keita, now raised an order that the percentage should be reduced to 3%. And immediately the Senate President put it to vote. And the yes vote, the nay, we can watch it on TV, was more resounding than the yes. But
particularly from those from the south.
Wherever. But I know it was more resounding. And it was passed as yes. And immediately he had Senator Manager opposing it. Then Sekibo came and I even asked for a second vote. And I asked that the House should be divided. At that point, that's when you now say, okay, if the voice vote is being contentious, then each senator should have a vote. And immediately, because the Senate President knew the implication of that, Senator Sekibo was begged to withdraw his application. The Senate leader also stood up and was appealing to him to withdraw the application. And reluctantly, he now said he will withdraw it on the basis that the Senate President will allow for 5%. But it was still insisted at 3%. But the host community had a meeting immediately and said that they rejected. In fact, one indigenous Ijaw National Congress said that they are going to review their continuous loyalty to the federal government, and that they had sent a circular of their position to the British Council, to the British High Commission. And another part which they expressed was the fact that the bill says that NNPC should give 30% of its profits for exploration of frontier basins.
For host community and then 30% for exploration for frontier basins. Is that necessary? Looking at the direction of the world now, going into clean energy. Dr. Charlie West.
Like my brother said, that you try to see how he can suppress his emotion. I am on a national television.
Okay.
I think I also want to see how best I can, so that I will not be seen as a regionally biased personality. Give or take, that PIB, the point it was decoupled into 4 components, I concluded that we are going to have it as a scam. Not this year. At the point at which it was actually the product of late Yaradua. So anything anybody is saying about it, 30% to the frontier, 5% for local, this or whatever, this and that, I see it that we aren't ready to keep this nation as one.
Well, that would be going too far. Well, let's look at what the way we can manage things as it is in respect to the oil sector.
Yes. Sorry, let me conclude my point on the frontier business.
Okay.
Because you see that the host community said that their own presentations was that 10% should be dedicated for the frontier exploration on the frontier basin.
Okay.
But the Senate that reduced the host community percent from 5 to 3, rather increased it from 10 to 30. And what are the frontier basins? The frontier basins are areas that have not been previously explored. Yes. And the Benue Trough, the Chad River, we know exploration has been going on at Borno State. And so it means that they are dedicated a higher amount to exploring oil in the upper part of the country.
And then I ask, is it necessary, looking at the direction of the world, going towards cleaner energy?
That's the unreasonableness of it. So why do you dedicate 30% of NNPC profits, which you could dedicate to education, to health, to other ailing sectors of the economy, to now explore an area that is gradually fizzling out? They are saying that in the next 20 years, fossil fuel will be least significant in the global economy. So it just shows that there's a gradual regional, anyway. But I think that there should be, if we are talking about management, I don't know how you want us to manage it, because if the host community are angry that you have reduced their percentage, and what makes it more terrible is the fact that the setting up of this host community trust fund was given completely to the oil companies. They are to set up the trust fund, and with representatives from there to dictate how it's going to, they say 3% of their operating expenses. Who determines the operating expenses? The oil company is what they declare.
How do you
If
measure?
they declare that our oil operating expenses for the previous year was so and so amount, who questions them? How do you know? And by the time they are the one, it's in the bill clearly written that they are to anchor the trust fund. I mean, you are putting the power in their hands too. And it also negates the whole, all the Niger Delta host community have been asking for is ownership. So what they are simply doing is just the 13% derivation, NDDC, they are just scratching the surface. These people say they want ownership. Ownership for now has been given to the federal government. So the oil companies will still not see the Niger Deltans as owners. They will just give handouts. They can go.
So looking at this, it means that perhaps areas that should be amended in the bill. What can we do about, or what should be done to amend the bill to suit the development of the oil sector?
The area to be amended is every other subcomponent that came out from the original bill should be trashed. If you need peace, oh, God help me. If you need peace for growth and development to be entrenched, the fundamentals are truth, honesty, fairness, coupled with equality, which some people call equity. The original version should be revisited. This other one that have been watered down is just a way of telling a section, we've told you, you are the horse that we ride.
No, we cannot say that because we are not you can't say that you're not the mouthpiece of the Senate as it is. Okay, but on a final note, apart from the PIB, in what way can Nigeria harness the oil sector at this time of oil boom, coming from the COVID-19 pandemic era where it dropped significantly to now there's about $7 per barrel, $70 per barrel?
Yeah, the PIB was supposed to be the one to chart this course, to bring trust back into the oil sector, because reports show that the country has lost over 200 billion in the last few years, that 550 billion was invested in Africa oil sector and just 3 came to Nigeria, because these oil companies, they are not dummies. They see that there's uncertainty in the whole economy. Nobody wants to come and invest in a community where there's riots, where there's fight, where there's kidnapping, where there's insecurity, so that your cost of production of rigging is even increased by the violence in the community. So we expected that this PIB was going to bring all the fielding forces to rest, but by the time you have host communities spitting fire, then it shows that I don't know. So I don't know how we'll bring resolve to the oil sector for now, until there is a political will to really bring about a lasting solution. You cannot bring peace when you are hiding, when you are being crafty with some issues that have to be resolved. So I think it has to do with political will, honesty, commitment to the national cause of Nigeria, if we believe in Nigeria, and that has to come from the government.
Okay, so I think there's still hope in sight, because it has just been passed by the Senate, and then it has passed for third reading at the House of Representatives, and the one that was approved by the Senate is waiting for the President's assent. So let's see how it goes at the end of the day. Dr. Charlie West, do you have any last words to add?
My pain has always been that as a Nigerian, when I put myself and other, just an Oman, a citizen from Oman, put us together. These are oil countries. Kuwait, we don't have any relationship as per measurement of the well-being or the direction you think, all because we have chosen to allow sentiment and not being true to the federal nationalist view.
So sentiment should be put aside.
I doubt if I don't know.
We can only hope for.
I don't know. We don't know. But like we said, that we are seeing the development and growth of the oil sector is already flying away. There is not going to be peace. Absolutely, it's not. No, we're not pontificating.
We can't.
It's not a prophecy. It's not prophetic. It can
Let's see how
never
it
be.
goes. Let's see how it goes at the end of the day.
It's important to say that the House of Rep passed a 5%. Their own submission was 5%. The Senate passed 3%.
So already
there will be a joint there will be a joint committee of both houses
at the end of the day
to harmonize the difference. But I know very well that the Senate proposition would most likely fly.
Again, let's not preempt. Let's not preempt things and just wait for things to happen. That's the show today. Thank you, Dr. Shadi Westerboy, for coming on the show, and Dr. Saze Inyuha for being on the show today. It's been an interesting one. I told you earlier. My name is Blessing Aicho. Until next week, do have yourself a nice weekend.
This is ITV. Certainly the best.